I'm Shawn DuBravac. I'm the Chief Economist for the Consumer Electronics Association, and I'm here at Lions Health. There's been a lot of very interesting technological innovations over the last several years that change how consumers interact with brands. Obviously, the broad digitization of information allows consumers to interact very differently with brands. And we also see this fragmentation approach happen. So when you can start to take digital information, you can divide it up and you can segment it and you can speak to niche markets, you get a much more relevant conversation. So we see that starting to take place. Obviously, the introduction of sensors to consumer-facing devices is changing the way that we look at these devices, the way we use these devices, ultimately changing what digital information is available to us. It's creating a much more personal internet experience. We're seeing the consumerization of healthcare. Things that were once only available to you as a consumer if you went to the hospital or you visited your doctor, you can now do in the privacy of your own home. So that's empowering consumers like never before. It's important to recognize that not everything happens instantaneously. Some things take years and even decades to come to fruition. The first digital computer was launched in 1942, but it wasn't until really the 80s that computing became ubiquitous. The first hard drive showed up in '56, but it was the 90s when storage became inexpensive and cheap and ultimately allowed consumers to start to store large amounts of information and have access to large amounts of information. So some of the innovations that we're seeing happen today are still in their infancy, and so it will be a matter of months, years, perhaps decades until they really start to garner the attention of mass markets.